Good afternoon, friends. It's David coming back at you from Zone 5B in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. If you watched my quick video from yesterday, you would have seen that the temperature here was beautiful. It was 65. It was sunny. It was great weather to get outside and to get some stuff done. And today, we've switched again. Temperature is in the 50s, but it is extremely windy and chilly out. In fact, the wind just about wrecked my one greenhouse that I had outside. So very different weather than what we were having yesterday. So today is a good day to talk about what's going on inside. So I wanted to give you guys some updates, to show you what's growing on and how it's growing here inside my grow room. So I had started some bunching onions in my seed trays, and then I did pot them up. Now, onions are one of the few plants that you can plant pretty densely because they don't really mind having their roots disturbed too much, and they're easy enough to separate out and pot up. So these are just the bunching green onions. But then yesterday, I did start a big tray of full-sized yellow onions. I haven't had a ton of luck germinating my yellow onions. I did learn, though, through my research, because for me this is always a research and learning experience, that onion seeds are one of the few seeds that are good for a very short period of time. My onion seeds have been a couple years old, and I read that they're really only good for about a year. And then the germination rates will drop way down. So went out and bought brand new seeds, and that's what I have in that tray sitting over there. I also started some more seeds, and you'll see my kohlrabi has popped up and is doing really, really well. While I still have the ice cream bean, which is the second time I've tried to germinate that. My tamarillos, which I've tried numerous times. I did have luck with my tamarillos the first year. I had 2 trees that had gotten decent sized, and I haven't been able to germinate since. And then I'm trying some groundswell tomatoes again. So these, I keep the humidity dome on because so many haven't germinated, and they are sitting on my heat mat over there. I had this on so it would track my face, but I don't want you guys to get seasick. So I just shut that off so the camera will stop moving back and forth when I move. Over in tomato land, tomatoes that I've potted up are doing really, really well. This is the olive shade tomato. We also have my Mad Hatter tomato. I will show you some other ones here in just a minute. In this tray, I went and started some of my flowers that are going to go alongside my vegetable plants. So I do have alyssum growing, and I have marigolds growing. And you can see I have a lot of germination on there. But if you can look at the alyssum, they're all leaning in that direction. So that means I did not have them centered well enough under the light. So I am going to work on repositioning those so they get some more light. I did also up pot some celery that I had started in my seed starting trays. So my 2 celery are doing pretty well there. I have more celery growing in the container that I originally started in. And down here in this big tray, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, so I will bring it up. We have started some of our herbs. So you will see I have started numerous kinds of basil. I have regular basil, I have a blue spice basil, I have a licorice basil, and I have the sweet Thai basil. Germination in all of the basils, and it happened really, really quickly. Over here, I do have oregano. I see some germination in my oregano, and my lemon balm. There's a really tiny one that's germinated there. Nothing in the thyme or the cilantro just yet. And if we spin it around, you will see I have iceberg lettuce, which is a fast germinating product. And I've gotten germination there, while my spinach has not germinated yet. And then here, In the last tray, I do have some onions. These are the old onion seeds. So I am getting some germination. And then for my Italian torpedo onion, which are also a couple years old, I do have one that's germinated there as well. So these I actually just started this past week. So there are some vegetables and some herbs that are extremely fast to germinate. And it really, really behooves you to know which is which. So you can know if you should start over again, if you should look into your process because something hasn't germinated. It could just be a slow to germinate seed. I remember last year when I started some seeds, I had given up on a couple of seeds. I really stopped watering them and taking care of them because they didn't germinate. And lo and behold, I had some pop up last minute for me. And I think it might have actually been my lavender, which is a tricky plant to grow and might require cold stratification. Here we have my lilac purple bell pepper plant that I up potted that is doing really well. In this one, we have lemon dream peppers. And you see, I still have two plants in the same container. Peppers are one of those plants that can actually do pretty well when they are planted right next to another pepper, when they are holding hands. So last year, that's what I did. I double planted a lot of my peppers out in the garden where they were right next to each other, and so many of them did amazingly well. So it's one that you may not necessarily have to follow the spacing on the pack, the seed pack label. But that's something that you can try as you go along. You know, follow the seed instructions the first time, do your research, and then when you hear things like, hey, they can be planted a little bit closer to another pepper, give it a try. I still have some things up here in the handy dandy grower that I need to up pot, so those are still doing really well. I have carrots in here that I was gonna get outside, but now that we're back to that chilly, windy condition, I'm a little bit hesitant. So they're gonna stay inside with me a little longer. And let's spin you around so we can check out the other grow tables. So you see, my tomato plants are still doing amazing. In fact, this is where it's suggesting that I started them a little too soon because I do have a couple of tomato plants over there that are well over a foot, foot and a half in height. This would be one of them. And this is my Kellogg's breakfast tomato. And it is just enormous. Now at the top, you can see these are actually flower clusters. So I'm going to pop those off because this plant is doing well, but we don't want it to flower yet. And they will flower when they are stressed. So it thinks it's ready to try to produce flowers because, again, that is the purpose of plants. And I don't want it to. So we will just break those off. My sweet potato slips are still doing really well, and they have the nice root ball. I just keep these watered, and I'm going to try to up pot these into little cups of soil to help the process along. So in this container, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different varieties of tomatoes that are all doing really well under that grow light. My cranberry trees are still in the back there. And then over here, we are still doing really, really well. My potatoes are under the sun here, trying to chit those, get those sprouts to grow a little bit more. I have ground cherries in the red solo cup right here that is doing really well. The rest are tomatoes, and the one thing that I am super excited for, if I can find it, is right here. And this is a peanut. First time this season that I've tried growing peanuts. I do have another under the humidity dome that has sprouted, and I'm very excited to get these out in the garden this year. I've never tried it before. My family comes from the Missouri, Arkansas area where I know peanuts are grown commercially pretty well. And then our experiment here to try to graft the tomato plant onto the rootstock is not doing too well. So right now, I would not call this a success. And that might be a little too late for that tomato plant because it does look pretty dead. And then under here is where I do have a second peanut plant that is breaking through. See a little bit of mold on top of the potting soil here. That tells me that the humidity was a little bit high and I needed better airflow. So there's still a lot of things that didn't germinate. And I'm still waiting on a couple of peppers to see if they pop up here. So that's one of the things your plants will tell you. If the humidity is too high and you don't have enough airflow, that is when you'll see mold start to form on your potting soil. Potting mix, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to kill what you're growing, but it's definitely not something that you want. So you can wipe it off, maybe get a fan blowing on there to try to kill some of that moisture. So a quick word about onions, because I don't think I've covered it yet. And it's something that's come up a lot recently because I did mention I've had trouble getting onions to germinate. Onions are one of those plants where it really matters what part of the country you live in. There are 3 types of onions: long day onions, intermediate day onions, and short day onions. And planting the wrong type for your area probably won't result in complete failure, but what it will result in is onions that just don't bulb. So you would basically end up with like a lot of green onions. In our area, farther north of the equator, so zone 5B where I live, we are in the long day onion area. Because in the summertime, our daylight hours are between, I think it's 12 to 14 hours. So we can grow long day onions. As you get closer to the equator, so the warmer areas of the country, like California, Texas, Florida, they are in the short day onion area because their days aren't as long with the sunlight as ours are. So if you tried to grow a short day onion up here in the north, it might germinate, it might grow some, but it's probably not going to bulb up for you. Now you may think, since you live in zone 5B, like I do, if you go to your local hardware store or seed store or grocery store and pick up any old pack of seeds, they're going to be long day onions because that's where you live, and you would be mistaken. I actually went to Tractor Supply, which is the closest real seed store by me other than Ace Hardware. They only had like 2 packs of onion seeds at all. And one of those was actually for short day onions. So had I grabbed those, I probably would have ended up disappointed by the end of the season. And that's kind of how it goes. Make sure you know what area you're in. There are areas, one of the people I watch on YouTube lives like right on the intermediate to long day border, so they can grow either because the hours are so similar. And you might be on one of those borders where you could grow short day and intermediate or intermediate and long day, but it's something that you want to take a look at. That's a lot, and it is really warm here in the garden room. So we've still got sweet potatoes slipping over there in the jar. Beautiful. Everything else looks like it is doing really, really well. I do come in here on a daily basis to see if anything needs to be watered, to decide if I need to add fertilizer. We do start using fertilizer on young plants. You can usually start as soon as they develop their first real leaves. And what I mean by real leaves is when something pops up, when a tomato plant pops up, it starts off with these 2 little spade-like leaves, shovel-like leaves, and those are called the cotyledon leaves. Those are not the true leaves. The next leaves that pop up are going to be the ones that look like tomato leaves, and those are the true leaves. As soon as your sprout As soon as your germinated seed starts getting the true leaves, you can start using fertilizer. A lot of people suggest a very light dose, like half the recommended dosage, every couple of weeks. But it is a good idea because the seeds have energy in them when you plant the seeds, but that energy is only enough to get it through the ground and germinated to get it started. So unless you're going to plant outside right away, or you're using a potting soil that has fertilizer in it, you do want to start feeding it. For all of my seed starting, I use seed starting mix. This year, my seed starting mix of choice has been the Sun Grow Black Gold, which is nice, light, airy, but it does not have fertilizer in it. So it's even more important that you start feeding your seedlings. So we are in the midst of the growing time. It is a great time to start your vegetables indoors: peppers, eggplants, tomatoes. We are quickly approaching the date where I can start my cucumbers, my zucchini, the faster growing things, because they grow so fast, but my last frost date is hopefully approaching. So it is not too late for you to get started. Even if you want to grow tomatoes or peppers, there is no time like the present to get started, and it's not too late for any of you. So if you want help, if you need advice, reach out in the comments below. If I don't know the answer, hopefully somebody else who's watching the videos will know the answer. And I would love to see what you're growing at home as well. If I can find it, I am going to post a picture of my garden plan here in the next few seconds to show you what I've got going on outside. I would have taken you outside for a personal tour, but it is so windy and cold. I don't know if you'd be able to hear me over the wind. Anyway, so I will show you the diagram that I laid out for it if I can find it. And that is going to wrap it up for today.
Hey guys, it's David here, and I wanted to show you the evolution of my garden since I started 2 years ago. So like I say, when you start out, you should probably start out in a manageable way, and this is the way I started out. I had 2 garden beds. One of those was an 8x4, and the other was a 2x4, and I made the most of it the first year that I had it. After my first year was a success, I decided to add on last year, my second year. I added in a raised bed that was 6x4, which you can see in the top of the picture here. The green line around the edges represent the original fence that I had last year. This year I again decided to add on to the garden space. The blue outline represents the new fencing area, and my 3 raised beds from last year are circled in red. In the top 6x4 bed, I'm going to add some trellising because this will be the bed for all my tomato plants. The trellising is represented by the purple lines. Along the bottom edge of the picture, in the blue-green boxes, it will be the area where I'm going to till up the ground and plant squash and melons directly into the ground. This will probably be the same area that I put my peanut plants in. The yellow boxes along the left edge represent where I hope to put a couple of grapevines and also some cranberries or possibly some small trees. And the brown boxes along the edge of the raised beds will be where my potatoes and sweet potatoes are going to be grown in grow bags. The entire area will be mulched, and the fence should protect it from critters.
Thank you guys, as always, for watching the video. Please remember to hit that like button. It helps the channel demographics. Subscribe so you know when we're going to post our next video. And please share the channel. We've seen a lot of growth. I think we're at 76 viewers. And I would love to see that continue to grow so everybody can get in and we can all grow together. As far as the 75th giveaway, I have not yet heard back from Anthony, who won that 75th subscriber giveaway. I will give it another week or so, and if I don't hear from Anthony, then I will redraw to find out who will get that seed starting kit that I showed you guys a few months ago. And I also went out and bought a packet of my absolute favorite cherry tomato seeds. I've been told by several people who have a lot of tomatoes and love tomatoes that this is one of the best they've ever had. So whoever wins the seed starting tray will also get a pack of the honeycomb hybrid tomatoes from Burpee, which are an amazing little cherry tomato. And I thank you guys. Thank you for coming. Remember to grow a little every day. Never stop growing. And I can't wait to see you guys all back here again on Come Grow with David A. Thank you guys. Have a good week.